Okay, welcome to the Crow Discovery Project. We're going to take a look at a few things here today that kind of demonstrate why we should be questioning everything, absolutely everything. And I would point out, it doesn't hurt anybody to question things that are currently accepted as gospel. It just doesn't. But first, I want to give a special thanks to all the people who have supported and contributed my coming road trip. For those of you that haven't heard about it, I'm taking a roughly 10,000 mile road trip through the United States. It'll cover approximately 30 states. I will have all of my filming and optical tools with me, and I will be able to run some tests that I cannot do here, shoot from some of the darkest skies, and do a few things that I don't really want to pre-announce. Even again today here in Southern California, we are completely overcast as we were yesterday. This has been predominant since the end of March. It's been really tough to film. Also, so many people have urged me to do the whole Indiegogo and Kickstart. I just don't have time. I just can't do that right now. So the PayPal link will have to suffice. And again, thank you to those who have supported this effort. And there will be one hell of a bunch of video on the tail of this thing, to include a first-hand State of the Union. I will report back exactly what I see about this country. At any rate, we're going to start off with the moon here today, and I am going to demonstrate that all the hoaxes and deception that we see will die under the weight of their own details. What we're looking at here is a rocket launch, and by the way, this is a copyright-free image or video from Wiki Commons. There are much better rocket launch videos, and I'd urge all of you to go out and look at them. What we see in these rocket launch videos is the rocket is launched and it does not go the shortest path. We are told the shortest path is a straight line from A to B. What we see is these rockets arcing out over the ocean, and then in many cases actually coming back down when the video cuts. I have said over and over again, my equipment is good enough to film one of these things going all the way out of our atmosphere, and yet there does not appear to be any video of that occurring. This is one more reason why I state that no one goes above low Earth orbit. As we watch this rocket taking two supposed astronauts to the International Space Station for 2 days, watch what happens. It's going up, but it's arcing hard, and what they've done is pulled a tight shot here so that you cannot see how much it's arcing. It's leveling off here, and right about here in this vicinity it starts to go back down. Now, we know that escape velocity takes one hell of a lot of energy. I forget what it is, 7,000 something feet per second or whatever it is. I've probably got that wrong. And look at this, right here you see the engines lose their efficiency. Look at all that smoke coming out. But this thing is going down now. To get back on point, a rocket launch should go straight up. It takes so much energy to get it there, and yet there is no footage that I have been able to find, that others have been able to find, of a rocket leaving our atmosphere, and it would not be that hard to film. Here's a rocket, supposedly has 2 astronauts in it, going to the fraudulent International Space Station, and what we see here is the rocket going back down. Now, I cut the audio track on this because I'm always worried about being attacked for copyrights. There are other channels that have been nailed for this unfairly. They were doing honest critique of videos and got nailed. As a matter of fact, there's a great new channel out there called Nuke Hoax. I would urge you all to go check it out. There's an individual calling into question all the BS that is put in front of us by the media and other sources. At any rate, we're told the rocket the boosters have just fallen off, and then they cut away. So we see a rocket go up, level off, coming down, and then they cut away to instill this kind of stage-crafted image with their little stuffed animal as they're supposedly going to space. Now, moving along here, as many are aware, I filmed the lunar wave for the first time in 2012. We have had no official response from any source except one observatory in Norway or somewhere that gave me a one-sentence description saying it's atmosphere. Here, Google has taken it upon themselves to put an entry about the lunar wave, calling it a conspiracy above search returns. So there is the first official response I'm aware of. So here's the 2012 lunar wave footage. And regardless of whether or not I have described what I think is going on here correctly, or missed the mark, or come very close, the point I would make about what we have learned from the lunar waves and all the filmings to date is it has given us good reason to question the moon and what we have been told it is. Now, on this channel, there are very good videos that break down the energy pulse that occurs before this wave. There's just a litany of information. And what it demonstrates is we have every reason to question the moon, which is what led me to do this. This is a thought experiment using Google Earth. When I first thought about this and I began to implement it, it really astounded me. And the crazy thing is that there are other people out there, good on them by the way, who went out and did their own experiments, putting representations of the full size of the moon on the Earth and doing a 40,000 mile jump up. And what you find is, logically, common sense does not allow what we have been told about the moon to be true. Now, what I'm going to do here is take a known naked eye object called the Aristarchus crater. Quite often, you can only see it when the moon is near full, and it's like a little white dot that's generally on the left side of the moon. And it does rotate up towards the 12 as the night goes on in some places. But what I did is I went and looked at pictures of this and I traced it out, and it is less than 41 miles, but the white kind of smear in some images goes up to 41 miles. So the example that I'm going to use here is a 41-mile white representation on the Earth of the Aristarchus crater. And by the way, I have done other clips that demonstrate no two pictures of this crater look the same. And that is just ridiculous. Anyhow, let's zoom down here, and for added effect, I placed this crater in the national park called Craters of the Moon or whatever it is. So here I am in Google Earth measuring it, and I will show you that it is roughly 41 miles across. Again, this is a listed naked eye object that we can see on the moon. So if you have good vision or glasses, when the moon is near full or full, you should be able to see this little white dot called Aristarchus. So what we're going to do here is jump up 40,000 miles away and see if we can see it, because Google Earth will not allow us to go any higher than 40,000 miles. Here we are at 40,000 miles, and I can no longer detect that crater, and yet the moon is 6 times more distant than this shot that I am providing. So there is logical, common sense data that demonstrates the distance of the moon doesn't match what we can demonstrate. Here we have a picture of the eclipse. Now look on the right side. You can see the sun showing through the darkened lunar disk. Now the blue line that comes up shows the lunar disk, or what we are told is the moon covering the sun. The red line that comes up shows the solar disk. So look at that right area. This has been predicted and demonstrated many times and suppressed. What you are seeing on the right side is the limb of the sun showing through the limb of the moon, or at least that's what we are told we are looking at when we're seeing a solar eclipse like this. There are many examples from old Royal Astronomical Societies and other astronomers who have witnessed near an eclipse things showing through the lunar disk or near the new moon. So again, we see these first-hand evidential things that allow us to call into question what we've been told. Now, I have filmed every lunar and solar eclipse in recent years. This is a partial solar eclipse that I shot with both my telescope and a telephoto lens. The reason I'm showing this is because you've got to consider that we are told the moon is roughly 400 times smaller than the sun, yet the sun is 400 times more distant, so we see this perfect kind of fit when they are aligned. And when you consider if it's even possible statistically, and I have seen people do the statistics on this that kind of demonstrate that it is damn near impossible for random events to have caused this kind of alignment. You know, we need to question these things. We need to go out and film these things. We should always be filming during eclipses, looking for a see-through moon, and at the new moon, which is a very difficult thing to do. So this was filmed with my H-alpha solar telescope, and the more that I film the sun, you kind of get an intuition and an observational experience that goes on. And while I probably only have maybe a couple hundred hours at this point, maybe more, I'm not sure, I have come to a point where just accepting that this is a nuclear furnace, in my mind, needs to be questioned. I think it's no different than the moon. Everything we have been told about space, been told about the sun, been told about our planet and our moon need to be questioned. And this brings us around to the imagery of our planet that we're handed by space agencies around the world. This is supposed to be the Earth and moon from space, yet when I shoot video in my backyard, quality is all that matters. And yet for some reason, it's okay for these space agencies to present us with these kind of blurry, faked, clearly worthless images. And we live in the HD world now, where we should have an endless array of planetary images in high def. But when the images get clearer, we're handed things like this. This is a construct. This is in no way a camera pointed from a vehicle or satellite in space back at our planet. Even the description of this image tells you that it is a made-up construct. And what's interesting about these images is the cloud cover. How the cloud cover is always kind of placed in key areas that prevents you from really getting a clear, comparable shot at landmass. And the reason this is important is because if you all remember back to school when you were in grade school, there was always a world map on the wall. Well, that world map was the Mercator projection, which is right here. Here is the Mercator projection, and what it does is it makes the European or ruling class countries appear bigger than in comparison to the third world countries. And it was used, we are told, because nautically straight lines were used on this map for navigation. On the right is the Gall-Peters projection, which apparently shows a more accurate area landmass. And when you look at these two things, you can only come to one conclusion. Your whole life you've been given a false image, a fantasy that has replaced reality in your mind of what this place looks like. And what's crazy is the image on the left was given to us in 1569. The image on the right was first described in 1855 and then popularized in 1974. What is being hidden from us? And why is it that in the space age, in the high definition age, we don't have an endless array of imagery? When you take something as simple as South America with map projections and satellite projections and begin to compare them, you will find what I found with the Aristarchus crater on the moon. No two are the same. In other words, they are all valueless in terms of getting a real image of the place we live, the place we call home, this world. And what that basically means is that it all needs to be questioned. We see so many people on YouTube now heading out with lasers to test for curvature of the Earth, taking long telephoto or telescopic shots to do the same thing, questioning the globe, and yet what the community as a whole is doing is belittling this effort. Look at Florida right here. Ridiculous. And belittling that effort makes absolutely no sense. The only logical approach is to question it all. And when you consider the endless array of things I have shot in between the end of my telescope and the moon, it's a bit mind-boggling. None of these things, none of them, exception of maybe one or two, match any description of a known satellite. The sizes, the speed data is all contrary to what we have been handed about what we should see or call a satellite in space, which further demonstrates that we've been kind of led astray there too. Satellites and their numbers and positions and speeds and all the description of we've been handed are false. The very idea that there is an endless array of space junk in the thousands of pieces whizzing by all the time is patently ridiculous to me, because if that were true, then I should film things every night that I point my scope at the moon. It's pretty simple. We have not been told the truth about things. So at this point, we just really have to go back and question everything. And my coming road trip, that's going to be a big part of it, is challenging the things we've been told and then providing video to demonstrate it. Cheers.